What happens when a superpower crumbles almost overnight? In 1991, the world watched in shock as the Soviet Union, one of the two giants that had dominated global politics for nearly half a century, collapsed without a major war. The fall didn't come from an invasion, but from within. When Mikhail Gorbachev took power in 1985, he introduced bold reforms, glasnost, openness, and perestroika, restructuring, to revive a stagnating economy and modernize the political system. But instead of saving the Soviet Union, his reforms exposed the rot, widespread corruption, ethnic tensions, a failing command economy, and a deepening legitimacy crisis. By the late 1980s, the Communist Party had lost its grip. The Soviet economy contracted sharply, with GDP falling by 10 to 15% during 1990 to 1991, and hyperinflation devastated ordinary people's savings. Meanwhile, nationalist movements exploded across the vast Soviet empire, especially in the Baltic states, Ukraine, and Centralasia. Once fractured voices, now called openly for independence. In August 1991, a group of communist hardliners attempted a coup to reverse Gorbachev's reforms. But the effort collapsed within days, and Boris Yeltsin, then president of the Russian Republic, emerged as a national hero. This failed coup was the final blow to Soviet authority. One by one, the republics declared independence. In December 1991, leaders of Russia, Ukraine, and Belarus signed the Belavesia Accords, officially dissolving the Soviet Union. Gorbachev resigned on December the 25th, and by the end of the month, the USSR was gone, replaced by 15 new nations. The collapse reshaped the world map and shifted global power overnight. The United States stood alone as the sole superpower, and its influence surged across Europe, the Middle East, and beyond. Countries once under Moscow's grip moved toward democracy and market economies, with many eventually joining NATO and the European Union. But the end of the Soviet Union didn't just bring freedom. It unleashed chaos. Russia entered a wild 1990s of economic collapse, privatization scandals, surging crime, and a painful loss of status. Between 1989 and 1999, Russia's GDP shrank by nearly half. Violent conflicts erupted across the former Soviet space, from Chechnya's brutal wars to ethnic violence in the Caucasus and Moldova. Meanwhile, the West's increasing influence and NATO's eastward expansion fueled resentment in Russia. Under Yeltsin, Western-backed reforms led to inequality and instability, eroding public trust. This paved the way for the rise of Vladimir Putin, who succeeded Yeltsin and promised to restore order and national pride. At the same time, China quietly took advantage of the shifting global landscape to expand its influence, while Europe worked to redefine its security and economic future. The collapse of the Soviet Union was not just the end of a country, it was the start of a new, uncertain era. It showed that even the mightiest powers are vulnerable to internal decay, and it taught the world that when an empire falls, the aftershocks can last for decades, shaping politics, alliances, and conflicts that are still playing out today.